Hey guys, welcome back to the second video. So like I said in the first video, I will try this month to make more than one video per week because of the people who subscribed in the middle of the month and already paid for the first months, and they are gonna pay again in the beginning of next month. So I'm trying to at least give them 1 month worth of material for the month that they already paid. And yeah, so for the previous week, the first week, we already talked about how the head looked like in Zbrush, and we talked about how we can paint our maps in Mari, the texturing XYZ displacement maps. And again guys, I'm trying to make this first tutorial very fast and not going into details and like taking my time to like sculpt and paint everything, and basically not wasting your time with the first one, so I can give you like an overall idea about how I do my realistic portraits. And then we're gonna do, like in future tutorials, we will start doing like sculpting head from sphere or from a skull, and then we will take our time to like study everything related to head sculpting. And then this one is gonna be a better tutorial to show you all the steps in the sculpting. So but like I said, with this one I will try to make it fast and like more in general and not very specific. So yeah, so last week we talked about painting this displacement maps, the texturing XYZ displacement maps in Mari. And then I stopped the video and I continued painting it until I reached this level, which I am happy about so far. So it's decent enough for me. I can show you on this one. It's better like that. And as you can see here, my copy channel layer, if I go on red, this is my secondary details. If I go on green, then this is my tertiary, and then blue, and this is the micro, where you can just need to zoom in to see the details. So once we are happy with it, of course you can only paint like the face. You can't paint more than this with the maps that you get from texturing XYZ, but it's always easier to do it with the default alphas, or with just the standard brush in Zbrush using standard alphas. It's so much easier to do like the head or the ears or this kind of details, while it's very specific the kind of pores and wrinkles that you need to make, like the wrinkles around the eyes or the wrinkles around the lips. So for this one it's better to use displacement details. So anyways, next thing for me is that I'm gonna export my maps from this sculpt. So I will export red as the secondary, green and blue. Okay, so if I go here on my channel and I say export flatten, export current channel flatten, and then it shows me if I go up, or you know what, let's do it here. So this is gonna be the secondary red, so I call it secondary, and then udim, and then tef, and then it's RGB for the color space, and then export all patches, and then it will export these. It's loading here. and then next I'm gonna use green, tertiary, and then do the same. Go to my DSP channel, export flatten, export current flatten, and then this one I'm gonna call tertiary, and then again sRGB, export all batches, and then again do the same for the blue. And this one I'm gonna call it micro. RGB. And then if I go to Zbrush, where I have the sculpt, and like I told you, the primary is I already sculpted it by hand, but let's see, maybe I would use it like on a layer and just use like only 20% of it or something like that. So what I should do first is that, if you remember, I told you that I had my old computer, so I couldn't go higher than this, but now I can subdivide it once more. So instead of 6 mil, I'm gonna be on 26 mils now, which is gonna give me an opportunity to get some nice details in micro. And I'm kind of lazy when it comes to painting maps, so I prefer to add as much details as possible in the sculpt itself, because it will help me to get away with the realistic skin shader without even trying to paint any specular or roughness maps. And I will show you this, but for this you really need nice details on your sculpt. So anyways, I subdivided it one more time, and then make a new layer, and then maybe call this layer secondary. Okay, so what I do is that I go to alpha and then import, and was it here? Sorry guys. Yeah, so it's these ones. So I call this one secondary, so let's get the secondary and then open it, and then in here, you know, in Zbrush, I know that most of you know this, but I'm gonna say that for the people who doesn't. So in Zbrush, it's weird that it always flips the UVs in V. So whenever you're importing or exporting from Zbrush, if you don't have that option on, like in the multi-map exporter, you have to do it manually. So now I'm importing an alpha, so I'm gonna flip V, and then after flipping V, if I go here and import my displacement map, the way to make it work as a displacement map, I need first to create a texture map for my sculpt. So I'm gonna go to UV map and then make my map 8K, and then go to texture map and then new texture, and now I can use my displacement map. So let's load this one, the one that we flipped, and then it says displacement on, but the intensity is on 0. So what would happen if I click any number is that you will see this. So the intensity on 1 is like really deep. So what I would do is that I would go to like 001, and yeah, it looks a little bit better. Maybe we need to see it stronger. If you move your sculpt and you feel like it's really heavy after importing an alpha, just go to your alpha in the brush alpha, and then click alpha off, and then it becomes better now. So you can see with and without, so I need to make it a little bit more intense, so maybe 0.003, and then you can make it really strong, and then afterwards you control the layer to get the strength that you want. So for me it's always better to make it like really strong, and then I can dial it down to whatever I need. So let's make it strong like this, and then go to layers, make sure that I have the recording on, and go again to my displacement map, and then apply displacement map. It will take some time. And yeah, so now it's applied. So now that's how the displacement map looks after I applied it to the skin, and you see how strong it is, right? So what I would do now is that if I go to my layers and then dial it down a little bit, you see that it gets better. Like if I try like 0.5 for example, yeah, that's nice. If I try 0.4, and also you don't need it to be strong, that strong, because we're gonna add the tertiary and the micro too. So I can do 0.3. Yeah, something like that. Okay, cool. So let's add another layer and call this one tertiary. And then in our tertiary, let's go again to alpha, and then import, and then tertiary, open, and then in tertiary I'm gonna flip V, and then go again to my displacement map and select my tertiary. Okay, and now the tertiary is on, and as you can see the details gets finer. So I'm gonna do the same thing, apply displacement map. It's gonna take some time. And let's make alpha off. And then if I go here, if I remove my primary, my secondary, so I can see the tertiary. So for the tertiary I need to go maybe 0.3 also. And let's see how it looks like. So 0.3 of the tertiary with 0.3 of the secondary. It's really strong. So yeah, maybe we will go to 0.2 on both. So 0.2, and then again here 0.2. Yeah, something like that. That's nice. And then let's do the micro. A lot of people prefer to do that inside Maya, like you blend your displacements. Again, for me, I am lazy. I prefer to do it in Zbrush, and actually I get nice results doing that. So that's why for me, I don't care. I just get nice results doing it in Zbrush. So if you prefer, there is also another tutorial on the Tinkering XYZ telling you how to set up the displacement shader for the skin shader, and using the blend mode where you have like your secondary, tertiary, micro, or even if you have the ZBrush sculpt also you can add it, and then you blend the 3 or the 4 displacements together in one displacement for your shader, and this way you can like control and tweak your displacement on the fly while you're rendering. For me, this works fine for me. I just do it inside ZBrush and I look at the skin and I judge how it looks like, and I get nice results doing that. So it's up to you. But for example, at work professionally, we do it the other way. We do it the adding the several displacements as blends inside the shader itself, the displacement. So anyways, so for this one, let's call it micro, and then do the same thing. Alpha, flippy, and go again to the displacement and micro, and then again make sure that the layer is on, apply displacement. Wait for it, and then if I go here and also do my micro on 0.2, and let's see all in all how it looks like now. So yeah, that's nice. And also always keep in mind that your displacement map needs to be strong inside ZBrush, because the skin shader is gonna take away a lot from it. So try to make your displacement details stronger than normal, because once you apply the subsurface scattering in your skin shader, a lot of that is gonna disappear. So for example, if we have something like that, so just for comparison's sake, let's do something like this. So that's the one with the displacements. I hope that it shows in with the recording, because the recording is not gonna be super sharp, so hopefully it would show with the recording. So you can see this like really fine details happening here versus this one, which is more like secondary and primary shapes only. So this kind of high frequency details is what gives the skin a more realistic look in the skin shader, and also it helps a lot with the specular and the roughness when you're using only the sliders in your shaders and you don't want to bother with painting maps. This kind of details helps a lot with that. So anyways, so once we have that and we feel like we are happy with it, we can, if you see here, now you can see that there is a difference in the details in the head and here. You can just ignore that, especially that we're gonna do a little bit of grooming. Even this really subtle grooming is gonna make it not that obvious. Also, especially that, you know, in bald head or in shaved heads, it's not, there's not a lot of pores like here, especially in bald heads. But since his head is not bald, it's shaved, then we will need a little bit of pore details. So what I would do is that I would add another layer, and then I just go to my standard brush and get a spray, and then maybe this one, and let's test it first. We can make it on this up. Oh, that's so strong. So maybe on 7, maybe, and then make it really small and see how this look. And yeah, so as you can see now, we have like a higher frequency details going on. I hope that the recording catch this, the screen recording, because it's very subtle, but this is the kind of subtlety that you need to show in your work, especially if you're gonna be doing skin shading. Maybe I can even go more intense and smaller. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, if you like keep doing that for the whole head, you're gonna have the kind of a high frequency details that you already achieved in the face itself using the XYZ maps. So yeah, let's go to this material, it shows better. Let's remove the texture. Yes, so there's on. This way we can see better, and then yeah, let's continue doing that. So I will not waste your time just doing this. It really needs patience to do this kind of stuff. And yeah, like for example, once we start to do things like sculpting hair, for example, inside Zbrush, this is gonna be crazy. So you need to be patient to do this kind of stuff. So I will just quickly show you after I do that the kind of details that we get and how it becomes a little bit seamless between the XYZ and our hand sculpted fine pores. So yeah, if I go here and then let's hide this layer. So you can see, I hope that the recording can show the difference. As you can see, that was very blurry, and now you can see like finer details, which is almost matching with our XYZ details. So in order not to waste time, and we can use this time in our next step, which is gonna be the color painting. So I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna finish this finer details kind of sculpting in the whole face, and then I'm gonna come back again to start the color maps projecting and painting. Okay, so now I finished making sure that almost all the skin has this kind of high frequency kind of tertiary micro pore details added to it. The next thing that I wanted to talk about before going into the coloring part is again making sure that your wrinkles also has these kind of finer details. So I want to show this quickly. I'm gonna call this one noise. I'm gonna make a new one and call this one wrinkles fine. So for the finer wrinkles, what I would do is that I will get a damp standard brush, get the intensity really high and the size like really small, so I can go into dynamic and make it smaller. So something like that. And then as you can see here, I still need some details in there, so I will do it later. But anyways, so for the wrinkles, for the finer wrinkles, is that I really need to sculpt over it, because again it was sculpted on a lower subdiv, so you can see that my wrinkles are not that fine. And what you see in skin is that if I quickly open the reference, so what you see here, for example, is that the wrinkles are basically a broad line, and then inside this broad line there is a really thin and deep and strong line inside that. You can see it even here. So that's why it's always good to start with a broader line on like a lower subdivision, and then when you go to your highest subdivision you start to add this really thin and fine deep lines inside the wrinkle itself. So that's what I will try to do next. So for example, if I have this kind of wrinkle here, I will go over it and maybe make it even stronger and smaller, and start to like really define this line inside that wrinkle. And from far it will really pop. So let me get up one of the wrinkles here, like for example in here. So I can do this like that here. Like that. And again, this kind of things, when it shows with the subsurface scattering, and you need to make it really strong because the subsurface scattering is gonna kill most of it. So try to go stronger, and it's on a layer, so anytime you feel like in your shader that it's doesn't look that good, you can always dial down a little bit in the layer itself. So something like that. And then when you see from far, you can notice how deeper it became with this kind of fine lines. So, and again, try to always check your reference while doing that. So for example, when I'm looking here, I see that these ones are not that deep, so I should not make these ones deeper, but these main big horizontal ones, they really need to be that strong. So like that. So that's another thing that I would add to my detailing. So as you can see here, this is a very broad line that doesn't have the thin wrinkle line inside it. So that's what I will do in this stage, like that here. So I just wanted to quickly tell you guys about this also before moving into color. So I'm gonna keep doing this in all the areas that needs this kind of details, and then come back again later. So now, as you can see, I have decent kind of details. Again, like I said before, it might look a little bit strong inside Zbrush, but again, this is normal because we're gonna use a skin shader, which is gonna kill most of our details. So yeah, something like that is decent enough to start getting into texturing and shading. So yeah, let's move into the color map, the color painting inside Mari. So see you in a sec. So now we're here in Mari again, and what I did is that I made a another project inside the image manager, and I imported some of color images from Texturing XYZ that I have bought like a long time ago. I'm sure there is nicer ones now on their website, but yeah, so I have here the like normal ones, the raw ones, and I have the albedo, which is the one that's the shadow and hair information taken from. So what I do is that I use a mixture of both. So for example, I will start with the albedo ones, and I will show you while working what I mean. So here, make a new layer, and then let's start. So I have this one here, which is the albedo. Like I told you, you can see that there is almost no shadow information in it. Even the hair is taken away. So maybe I would start with something like that. And again, like we were talking before, painting the broad, bigger ones first. You try to match. And then it's painted. So again, because I have my my edge mask turned on, you can see that I cannot paint on the side. So let's get this area first quickly. See, like that. And as you can see, guys, again, like what I did when I was painting the displacement ones, you don't have to be like precious in the beginning. You just need to roughly and quickly get something on your model, and then we have the time to fix everything and get into details later. So something like that here and here, quick and rough. And then pick it. And Mary's taking its time. I think it was a lot of work. So maybe I can go here in the mouth area. Get this here like that. The chin. So something like that. There we go. There we go. And then maybe the forehead. Yeah, that the forehead on this guy is not that nice. But again, we're gonna go in details and fix all of that later. So let's get something rough for now. Maybe I can go to my decimated version, and then I would see, it's totally different. So maybe I can do something like that if I go here and paint these two wrinkles like that, and then go here and get my warp tool. Maybe I can try to get the wrinkles to sit inside. My sculpted wrinkles. Yeah, something like that roughly. I can press the upper arrow and then it would give me subdivisions inside my warping tool to control it better. So yeah, something like that. Maybe more here, that here, here. Yeah, that's better. And then once I press Alt to bake it, it will get rid of that. So yeah, it looks decent now. Looks better. So back again to my paint through, and I can go up here a little bit more like that. Okay, so if you can see here the flat version, it's not too bad. So I can get another one. For example, I can get the one from the side. And again, I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not even like adding different layers for each single one. It's just quick and dirty to get something as a base texture that I can use as a foundation for my later on texturing. So yeah, something like that. Here, quickly, like that. Here, maybe here, and then I can bake this. I get to the nose. Make my nose here bigger. Something like that. And then again here. I will later clean the textures from the hair or whatever. So something like that here again. Cool. So maybe I can start working on the ear, which is the most tricky part to texture. It's not gonna be an easy one. So I try to take it into chunks, like the ear lobe first, and then this part here, like that. Then maybe this part. You see that it's getting tricky. You can use a warping tool again doing this, but again I'm just doing a very quick rough base for my colors. And something like that here. And here. So yeah, I can maybe get like a 3/4 view, and then get the 3/4 albedo texture. Maybe here, the part with the nose, and make it match as roughly as possible. Like that, and then paint the inner part of the nose, a little bit of the nose here, maybe here, get better. You can also continue with the cheek. So yeah, something like that. And again, with the mole on his cheek, I'm gonna clean that also later. So all the hair, all the birthmarks or moles on the skin, this is gonna be very easy to clean later once we have some decent base for our textures. And like I told you guys, this is gonna be a long process to get decent textures from these color maps, but it's not as long as if you want to paint them inside Zbrush or paint them by hand in whatever software, in Mario using procedural maps or something like that. Procedural alphas. So yeah, something like this. So if you see, guys, what we have so far, something like that. So let's see how it looked like the ear. I don't know if this ear is gonna help. Don't think so. Anyways, so what's next? Maybe get a little bit of the neck. Something like that here a little bit. So yeah, anyways, moving on, I can get the other side and 3/4. So come on, other side. So again, to save time, I'm gonna do quickly the other side and the other 3/4, and from the back, from bottom, from top, and then after I have the base layer, I'm gonna come back to you again, and then we will start refining the color maps. So here, after projecting from top, from bottom, the sides a little bit, and if I remove this colored layer, this is actually my initial basic projection, so you can see that it's not perfect at all. So I try to get as close as possible to make it look a little bit decent, but like I told you, I don't have to go crazy into details in this stage yet. So what I did is that I added a basic color layer and see how my my color map looks like. It doesn't look that bad. If I go to, yep, it doesn't look that bad. So again, if you see in the reference here, actually we might later lose all this vascular redness happening here. He doesn't have that in his skin. His skin is thicker than this. It doesn't show that. So yeah, you can see here. Yeah. So yeah, not bad for a start. So what I do next is that I will start adding the raw textures again over these ones, especially in areas like here. This, what's happening in the beard, that's not nice. This will not be good when we start our shading. You can't see this kind of thing happening on his beard. So you see, it doesn't look like that. It actually might look a little bit darker or more grayish than what we have here. So the raw images are gonna help us in areas like this, and it's gonna add a little bit of pass of details. I hate to use a color map that's really flat like that. I know that it scientifically this is the correct way to do it, but again, I think that having some shadows and details in your texture actually helps, but when used in the right way and in the right amount, of course. So what I will do next is that I will start adding some of these in another layer, and then I will start now, after having this base, to be more precise a little bit, to take care of what I'm projecting, try to make it look more decent. So let's add another layer, and then let's get our raw textures. So here is the nose. As you can see, again, it has this kind of vascular veins happening underneath the skin, which I think I'm not gonna use at the end. Let's focus on the beard area for now. The beard area and the mouth. So I really feel bad about purchasing these textures. That's the face of the guy is horrible. It doesn't fit at all with my models. I try to use it on several models, and every time I have hard time to work with it. But anyways, let's try our best to get something decent out of that. So right out of the bat, if I try this area here like that, a little bit here, make my brush smaller. So bake this, get the lips to line up a little bit better here like that. So you know what, for the lips I think I can warp it into place, so I can get something like this, and then paint it like that. So something like this, and then I can use my warp tool, arrow down, get less. So yeah, something like this. back again to my projection. We go here, more of that. As you can see now, I'm starting to get into smaller details, smaller brush size. That's all because I now have some base details that I can rely on. So I'm trying to get rid of this small. Something like that. Maybe on the other side too. Something nice, like here. Like that. Brush bigger a little bit. Here a little. And then if I go to the chin, let's start first with some lip details. A little bit of that here. And of course, while I'm working, I have this by my side. I'm looking at like the size of his lips. The shape of the lips, the shape of the details on the beard, and all of that. I keep that in mind. And again, like when I was talking about the sculpting, you don't have to go crazy into making everything exactly the same. You can do all of that later. So I'm trying to roughly match the beard size. Something like that. And if I do this, you can see that we have a little bit of kind of shadow information, but we got some nice details. So what we could do is that we would continue painting that, and then you would not be annoyed by the amount of shadows. Or also what you can do is that if you hide this, see, so I can, for example, let's try to see it on 0.5. Let's try it on 0.7. So yeah, you can get some details out of it, or you can mask the areas that you don't like, but it's too early to judge. You need to add more details first. So for example, let's do the side view. So here, and let's see how this is gonna look like. So roughly get it in place, and you can see now it's starting to cover this weird lighting happening. It looks nicer. So yeah, something like that. So for the texture map, it's all about building layers and layers of details and refining it as you go. So the more layers of details you add, the more depth you can get to your texture, and the more realistic it's gonna look. That's my experience with color painting. is that you need to give it some time, give it some patience, and a lot of layering and detailing. So let me get rid of this here. And let's take a look. So again, like I told you, we need to build more details, and then at the end you can always just mask the areas that looks weird. So let's get the 3/4. So if I do something like that, so you see that it's already taking care of this weird shadowing thing that was happening here. Give it a little bit of depth here. Something like that. So yeah, I will continue doing this. I can, like I told you, just layer mask, add mask, hide all, and then if I go here, I can just paint the areas that I want. Like that here. Here a little bit depth. More here, and you can always check. I can also maybe try something else, like for example the color that I have. I can add a new layer and then get this color, paint over the soft brush, and get rid of all the areas that I feel like they are going lighter. And yeah, the thing that I'm telling you about the layering, we're gonna add a lot of pores layering. For example, we're gonna get a cavity map out of Zbrush, and we're gonna use this to add more pore details into our painting, into our color map, and this way it will also help to ground the color map and match the sculpting itself, so you will find the colors matching the displacement. So this will help a lot. So something like that. Maybe a little bit of this here, like that. Yeah, this Need to make it one solid color. It's better than all of this happening. And yeah, I want to get rid of this vascular thing happening here. It is nice if you're making like a generic old man, but for our reference it doesn't match, so we don't need all of these details. It's nice to leave some, but not all of that. So let's paint over that here a little bit. Here more. And when you go to this, another thing that we will be doing after some refining is that we're gonna have like a soft layer or multiply, soft layer, like a soft layer mode here, and try something like go crazy with the colors. See, for example, here, and I feel like here it's reddish, but it's not that reddish. But of course, have in mind that once you add the shader and once you do the skin shading, you will not have all this variation. Your model is gonna start to have just one solid color. So it's good to keep more variations, because it is gonna fade once you start using a skin shader. So if you go crazy with some like red color like that, and then like, oops, let me get rid first of my my edge mask. Come on. So yeah, let's go to projection, edge mask, and then if I go again to my layers, and then move this away, get a color, something like that. Let's delete this one. Oh, wrong layer. Let's get a new layer. And then on this one, for example, let's leave it as normal, but let's make the opacity low, and then let's add some color variations. So like a little bit of a reddish color, like that, maybe a little bit saturated. Right, and go crazy. Don't worry, just go crazy, like this is red like that. And then in here do the same thing, like make the lips red, right? And then in here get like a little bit of greenish gray like that. Right, and right here like that. Like this. That. Maybe get off a little bit of a yellowish color, something like this in here. What I'm doing is gonna help to add more variations to the colors. Of course, not in this stage that you would do something like that, but I'm just showing you a way that you can do it to add this kind of variations. So kind of reddish color again, maybe for the cheeks. Basically looks like a clown or like really bad makeup, right? And then we can also add a little bit of that to the ears here. Like that. And then maybe a little bit of a bluish color like here, and then add it to the eyes and underneath the eyes, maybe here. And this is actually the overall color that we have based on the blood and veins and fats and hair underneath and on our skin. Like for example, this yellowish is because there is bones underneath the skin here. It's the skull. There is not a lot of fat or muscles, while here you have this kind of bluish kind of veins that makes the underneath the eye looks a little bit bluish. You have here like the most blood flow, and the most vascular areas are like on the nose, underneath the nose and underneath the cheeks, and that's why you have like the reddish, and of course on the lips. And here you have like the beard, so the hair is like giving you this kind of greenish color. And then you would just dial it really back, and once you have this, you might think that it looks really obvious in our map here, but once you start using your skin shader, you will not see these variations as strong as you can see it here. It will actually add a nice variation to your shader, to your skin in the shader, but it will not be as obvious as you can see it here. So that's another thing that we're gonna do, but of course we're gonna do that in the very late stages of finishing basically the color map, so we don't need this one now. So anyways, so that's it for our initial basic start for the color map. And the next video I'm gonna be finishing the color map, making it tight. We would have all our details on it. We're gonna use some cavity maps to add to it. I'm gonna spend more time refining my projection on the sculpt to make this map tighter than this, and then I will show you how to add the details using the cavity map and using some extra hand painting and procedural painting inside Mari. So see you in the next video, guys.